We're always told that new technology is supposed to make our jobs and our lives easier. But what if it's also creating a whole new set of hidden problems? Today, we're going to dive into that really complex relationship between workplace automation and, well, the people who actually have to use it. All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with this big idea called the automation paradox. Then we'll look at how our jobs are actually changing. We'll get into why human error is often a system problem, not a people problem. After that, I'll introduce a really powerful three-part framework for getting this right. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at what this all means for the future of work. So let's get right into it, the automation paradox. It's this kind of counterintuitive idea that the very technology designed to help us can, in fact, create brand new, totally unexpected problems. And to really get why, we need to understand the science of how we as humans interact with the systems around us. In that field, it's called human factors. And it's basically the science of making technology work with our brains, not against them. It's all about designing tools that fit with how we naturally see and process information. And as you'll see, this is absolutely central to understanding the flaws in so much of our modern automation. Okay, so with that foundation in mind, let's look at one of the biggest changes happening in the workplace right now. Automation is completely transforming what it means to be a professional. A pilot, a surgeon, even a train driver. We're moving away from being active controllers of a system to becoming passive monitors. Think about the difference here. A system controller is always in the loop, right? They're constantly getting feedback, their attention is sustained, they're continuously engaged. But a system monitor, they're kind of watching from the sidelines. They're only meant to jump in when something goes wrong, which hopefully isn't very often, while the system just hums along handling everything else. And on the surface, that sounds amazing, doesn't it? I mean, less to do, less stress, what's not to love? But here is where that paradox really starts to bite. Is it actually better for us, for our performance, when we have less to do? And the surprising answer is a big, fat no. Research shows that our performance actually gets worse when the mental demands of a task are too low. We get bored, we disengage, we become complacent, and then when a problem does pop up, our response times are way slower, which just dramatically increases the risk of a mistake. It's basically the mental equivalent of falling asleep at the wheel. And this brings us to a super important point. When something goes wrong with one of these fancy new systems, what's our first instinct? We blame the person. We call it human error. But you know what? That's a dangerously simple explanation. We have to look beyond the individual and start looking at the system itself. See, new tech doesn't get rid of errors. It just creates new kinds of them. We've seen it in aviation, where highly skilled pilots have completely misunderstood which mode their autopilot was in. We've seen it in hospitals, where nurses have made mode errors programming an IV pump, accidentally giving a patient the wrong dose. These aren't people failing. This is a failure of design. These systems just aren't built in a way that makes sense to the human brain. I mean, just look at the disastrous opening of London Heathrow's Terminal 5. The problem wasn't the staff. Nope. The culprit was a single flaw in the automated baggage handling system. It just wasn't designed to handle the messiness of the real world. The result? Over 500 canceled flights. One design flaw caused a massive, massive failure. And this is not some isolated incident. In the US, a huge healthcare company called Foxmeyer actually went bankrupt after rolling out a new automated inventory system. The tech itself wasn't the only problem. The real issue was that the company failed to update its other business processes, and it never got buy-in from the people who had to use the thing every single day. The technology was basically an island, and the whole company sank. Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly. Automation can create new challenges, and just blaming human error is not the answer. So what is? Well, the solution requires a much bigger, more holistic way of looking at how technology fits into our work. And it all comes down to seeing the system as three interconnected pillars. You have the user who's interacting with it, you have the technology itself, and then you have the wider organization that surrounds them both. And here's the full picture. For any new technology to actually succeed, you have to think about all three pillars together. You've got the user, their skills, their motivation. You've got the technology, its reliability, its complexity. And then there's the organization, the training, the culture, the leadership. And this is where so many projects fail. Companies get laser focused on the shiny new technology, and they just assume the user and the organization will figure it out and adapt. And as we've just seen, that is a recipe for disaster. So, with this framework in our back pocket, how do we actually put it into practice? The goal isn't to build some perfect, flawless, error-proof system, because let's be real, that's impossible. The goal is to build something far more valuable, a resilient one. So what does that actually mean, resilience? A resilient system is one that can handle a threat and respond effectively, even to problems it never saw coming. It's all about having the flexibility and the resources, both human and tech, to adapt when things go sideways instead of just completely breaking down. A really fantastic example of this in the real world is the Airbus electronic cocoon. It's brilliant. The system gives the pilot full control of the plane, but it has these built-in protections. So if a pilot tries to make a move that would push the aircraft beyond its safety limits, the system gently steps in to prevent it. It's a perfect partnership. It complements the pilot's incredible skill without trying to make them obsolete. And that brings us to our final section, where we're going to pull all of these ideas together. What does all of this really mean for our future and our relationship with technology at work? The ultimate takeaway is this: the future isn't about replacing people with machines. It's about designing technology that works with us, tech that augments our skills and helps make up for our limitations. The goal is a partnership, not an eviction. Real progress is about complementing human performance, not blindly trying to engineer us out of the system. So I'll leave you with this question to think about in your own life, at your own job. Look at the tools you use every day. Are they actually designed to empower you, to make you better at what you do? Or are they slowly and maybe quietly making your skills irrelevant? The answer to that question is going to shape the future of work for every single one of us.